More than 2 videos and an hour in, and we're only now getting to the tippy top of the iceberg? Yes, expect a long series. So let's not waste any more time. Only one more thing left to say. Welcome back to the Soul Eater Iceberg Layup 3. Repeat show. As one can see in these words of Okubo. From where? Oh, you'll see. The repeat show is what it says on the movie reel tin. A rebroadcast of the anime with new intros and credit videos. It is also the source for these mysterious other Soul Eater openings you may have seen before. Including this horrific smile which would make any reaction channel proud. But cutting social commentary aside, it's nice that at least you can see Krona interact with the main group. Sucks to be the B team though. But hey, not like they were any better in the manga even with the additional screen time. Anyways, I thought I would find that this was a common practice. To switch up a show's OP when you need to show it on TV. Sadly, no matter how I tried, I couldn't find an answer. With that I mean I couldn't find out Google keywords. So I will ask for audience participation. If you are some anime archbishop, let us know in the comments if this practice is common, or if nothing besides Soul Eater and the obscure show Doki Doki Panic on the Famicom did that shit. Thanks in advance. And now, let's start the show proper. I love you in sign language? Supposedly, the hand signs that Kid does to call his father mean I love you in sign language. Well, at least places like the Soul Eater wiki claim that, without a source. And I think people comment this fact in YouTube very often too, so I guess they are never wrong, are they? So is it true or is it just a fake rumor? Do any other poses also have secret esoteric meanings? I don't know. But first, the thing is, there isn't just one sign language. Many countries seem to have their own, and there probably are other factors that could cause differences in meanings and expressions. So it isn't like some universal alphabet like Braille, which also probably isn't the only touch-based language. So which language does Kid even use? The American one? Because it takes place in America? Then the sound lacks the extended thumb, plus the other movements seem to also be silenced for something else. Okay, then it's probably the obvious Japanese one, right? Well, that also doesn't seem to match. Or maybe this video is lying or something. So maybe it was clearer in the manga, or maybe the anime fixed some mistake of Okubo? No, neither of them seem to spell out I love you. At least in not any sign language I can find. And maybe I'm just ignorant and don't find something obvious that everybody can find. So in that case, sorry for spreading misinformation. But do not leave this on a sad note. If Kid actually makes the devil horn sign or the rock on sign, that actually leads back into Fireforce, because that's the sign that Shinra used. See, at least one of these connections actually kind of works. Madness of Order. In the comic, it was later introduced that certain creatures, don't worry, we'll come to them, are actually in a way responsible for madness. And that madness itself comes in more flavors than Kit Kats do in Japan. So much choice would draw anyone mad now get Okubo's inspiration. But the most interesting part of that all, at least to me, is the fact that even order itself is a kind of madness then. Turning the whole dichotomy between it and chaos on its head. And leading into the point of madness not being necessarily evil. Just like the dog shit silly billy cringe anime, where Asura even said that madness wasn't evil, and that even courage was a kind of madness in its own way, specifically the part that everyone has a little bit of it. So yeah, cool, I guess. Anything more? The one thing that can get forgotten in the shuffle, because it kinda gets thrown out in a bloated and thematically confused fight, is that supposedly with his madness of order, death, or any other mature Reaper, can theoretically control everybody on Earth. You heard me right? Obviously with the point being made of, oh, freedom is more important and look how Lord Death isn't a tyrant that makes us into slaves just for world peace and blah blah blah. But look, I'm normally not an utilitarian, but I guess if one has a Kishin problem, would it really be so bad to make Medusa break her neck? in the catacombs by slipping on the vector arrow as it was a banana peel. Okay, I get it. It's kinda like Okubo's answer to the problem of evil. But that would get into the whole confused metaphor of, is Death even supposed to be the god? And why give him such a moral justification when the point is that he needs to be replaced, because he actually isn't some absolute. And whatever, you can just read my post and people disagreeing and calling me stupid for nitpicking and not getting something written for 12-year-olds, if you're interested. I'm gonna link that whole stuff in the description. So with that, it's time to use the madness of order to enforce a steady flow of this video and to go to the next R entry. I get it, ordering myself to go, like order, like, does that even work in Japanese? Like double meaning? I don't even sure. Black Star. Naruto parody? This one I'm legit curious. I seemingly recall as a kid first watching the show, having the impression that the joke with Black Star is, oh, he's a Naruto parody, a loud ninja that fails because of that. And he literally wants to be a star and get all the attention. And instead of wanting to be the Hokage or the best as other spiked hair faced brats, he wants to literally surpass the gods. Delight, simply delight. But even with my limited knowledge, at least compared to most of you anime aficionados, I realize all of these traits aren't exaggerations, they are just cliches, with the whole surpassing god thing being a trope from JRPGs. Yet still, I can't shake it that it was a common sentiment. But even from anecdotal asking around of people who are into Soul, this seems to be a rare delusion. Rare, but still existing. So just for those as crazy as me, let's try to explore this possibility further. Could Black Star, or even Soul Eater as a whole, be more influenced by Naruto than first thought? It is very suspicious that both shows have a snake-themed villain scientist who steals the thunder of every scene they are in. And both shows have a central conflict of a best friend, nearing on lover, getting seduced, taken by the dark side, and seemingly falling more and more into evil only to be miraculously redeemed. Oh, I guess it's Moon Prison in one case. No, yeah, sorry for you, Krona. But the latter thing, as we will find out in an upcoming arc, has another origin too. And I think these things in general aren't copyrighted by Naruto Ramen Industries. So, Oh, and the funniest plot twist of them all is that I accidentally found the real thing Black Star parodies. Foolishly granting myself my childish wish to actually own a PS Vita to play the 3 good games that aren't waifu RPGs on it, I wanted to just randomly check out some game I downloaded. And, surprise, yeah, that is Black Star. Hell, there are Death Battle mock-ups and requests for these two characters, and others have seen the connection before me too, so mystery solved. Believe it! This is Halloween AMV. Now we come to the infamous AMV. The one I'm glad that I actually watched the Tim Burton trademark movie for, so I knew what it was paying homage to. Hold on, let's do it again, cause this isn't paying enough reverence to it. Reverence? Cause this AMV is how many people first even learned about Soul Eater. Yes, it's all the fault of a Marilyn Manson cover song. Or at least I remember watching it way back. Sadly, my memory is presidential, so I can't recall, in good consciousness, if I watched it before or after seeing Soul Eater. And isn't a lifelong obsession scarier than any Oogie Boogie monster or misconduct allegation? Anyways, I got kinda curious about some facts about it. Seemingly, it even won an AMV award. Imagine AMV awards. Instead of Oscars, they give out Oscar Myers and call them weenies. I'm more sorry for making myself crave a hot dog than making fun of AMV makers, by the way. And it got millions of views, getting more till this day. Kinda funny considering that Halloween wasn't even mentioned in Soul Eater itself. Or was it? But what is truly insane is that this isn't even the only AMV to have that crazy amount of views. Like, check out this one with Animal I Have Become, that one stupid emo song that I would normally never listen to. But it somehow even hits my niche. and the niche of millions of other people, I guess. Hell, the tradition of making music videos out of clips lives on, evolving into these shorter edits with funk music. My guilty pleasure. Sad that so many don't watch past the Jack the Ripper fight, cause geez Louise, how many fucking times can you see the same sky spin? Gonna catch vertigo. At least directed like Hitchcock. All jokes and good fun aside, I think the potential of AMVs was never fully explored with Soul Eater. Sadly, I'm just too lazy and self-conscious to do anything about it. Alas, the day will never come where somebody will make a cool edit and...
Shouts out to Ugly Mind, Raided Clan.
Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's. Hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's. Hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's. Hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood. Twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner.
1999, rapping Miyagi, I stay on my grind ever since it's a shine. I bring out that 9, aim it and cock it, the fuck niggas drop it, I shoot it, they pop it, I lay down the line. Just like a pipe, cutting and slicing the end of a sight. Run to the reaper, I'm about to get deeper, black man, camera city, my shit day and night, bitch. Fuck a man on the moon, I'm got the planet, I'm planet of shrooms. Evacuate the fucking appearances, lyricists, dividends running with rated platoons. All black with ugly man, just like from Memphis, I'm making a stain. Post talking shit and they always in game, but when niggas make it, they screaming your name. Fuck them stupid hoes, really that's the way it goes. I bought 666 and outcasted this hit, so nigga can't test me your friend or a phone, it's slick. I fuck up your shit, young nigga, your ass gon' lay. I'm the best out of Carol City, ever since Dungeon Play, Denzel Curry.
Twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner.
Listen, young man, I could pop you with one hand, rob you with the other. Ugly man, I go dumb ham. I'm one man, unaffiliated private institution. Don't confuse me and Raider Clan as tight as nooses. All black Zeus's. It gets gruesome if you slippin'. If you imprisoned inside of a chalk line around your final position. Got this folded that I'm sipping, cause it's boring with no competition. I'm sliding through the hood on these D's that I'm twisting. This is for the players, this is for the runners, this is for them hustlers smoking herb in abundance, flipping nothing less than onions, pulling guns as big as Paul Bunyan. We keep it molded underground, we in the dungeon.
Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner. Rolling in my hood, twisting on them D's, hanging with my partner, starting bodies on the corner.
Freeze Weird Soul. This is maybe a pointless entry, cause the whole Weird Soul thing was obviously just a setup for the werewolf reveal. Still, that scene always seemed peculiar to me, as if there was something more to it. Even just the fact that he got a partly witch soul, I guess because of the eye, but does that imply that taking body parts gives you special powers too? Guess Stan is slacking, not Frankensteining himself into some 20-foot giant with all monster special powers. So much for wanting to dissect everything. But totally real missed opportunities aside, one could say that it's a special case with 3. Because it isn't any old body mutilation or organ traffication. My man got literally the magic eye from Maba, a person we already discussed as more mysterious than the audience of all these YouTube videos about revenge fantasies. Find Jesus and learn to forgive, jeez Lee. All this could lead us into a whole other tangent about how exactly Free got the eye, and why his punishment was so benign and maybe there is even enough fodder for a crazy fanfic in which Free is somebody who seduces Maba only for him to use the trust for the power of the eye, and her and her sorrow and last embers of genuine love just imprisons Free, taking his memory and not killing him by saying, oh, it's impossible. Like just teleport him into a volcano if you want. Maybe that's why she doesn't speak anymore. Losing all need for words because all she needed was a cold shoulder to cry. Nah, okay. Enough of this tangent. Because Maba is so boring it's easy to come up with bullshit. Back to Free. One could also be some super nerd and even connect him to Giriko. The latter's soul exploded due to having too much rage. You're gonna tell me having more lineages and different bloodline powers than the average anime protagonist doesn't do the same? Well, he is a werewolf with regeneration. Maybe we should look into that too later. I don't know. In the end, this topic probably was a waste of time, and I forgot what they even tried to do with it. Guess that is fitting when speaking about Free. But don't forget that he will come up later too, because there's a lot of weird stuff still left unexplored. 8. Reaper Legion. An interesting detail from the earlier parts of Soul Eater. When Azura's backstory was first expositioned out, he and Death were part of something called the 8 Reaper Legion. So, okay, you could say, nice, what's the point? But that exactly is the point. What was it? Who were the members? Were they all of a special kind of being or concept? About which we're gonna speak at the end of this video. Don't worry. And if not all, why were at least most of them? Anyways, before letting off accusations of retcons, let's better look at the Fireforce connection first. It ended with what seems to be the 8 Legion. Cause in the previous world Company 8 was the Force, and now they do their new world police thing. If true, then what are all these weird things like Death fucking off and not interacting with them? Which would either mean that he joins later, which is wild to think about, like the whole order that everyone just assumed to be Death's personal squad wasn't even made by him and he was just a tag along and then just took all the credit. Or this is like the, I don't know, insert some band where that happened. Or even weirder, maybe they aren't even the same thing. Considering the whole ambiguity of how long ago everything takes place, one could argue that Death just got inspired to do his own shtick much later. With all the original people being dead and forgotten, oh, but they are written in a book, so they aren't forgotten, I guess. So maybe the founding members just died off, and the new members took their place and got established as the real members in a way, I guess. Or maybe just connecting everything brings up more bullshit than necessary. Like at first it was interesting to speculate who the other members were, if they had some representation in myths and religions or folklore, but now just, oh, I guess some ancestor of some dude from Fireforce. I don't know, man. Bones. Do you ever wonder if secretly Studio Bones only got to animate Soul Eater because Bones, the pun, death, the other thing we will talk about later? Hope not, but if yes, thank God there wasn't a studio called Tim Burton Fanfiction Incorporated. Yeah, but is it more to say? This is a Soul Eater ICEBERG, so I don't know if regurgitating all their history will make much sense. But at least it is necessary to acknowledge that it was cardinal in the way the Soul Eater anime turned out. Well, in all ways, the studio is known for anime original endings from FMA to FML. Get it, fuck much. And if you're already name dropping other series, there's a lot of Soul Eater crossover promotional art. From Eureka 7 to that weird show about some school where boys work the oldest profession or something, I don't know. Uncomfortable realities aside, one may even see how some shows match the tone, at least on the surface aesthetic level. And with designers of one working on the others, it is only logical, like less traffic control leading to less accidents. Still, Even if this sounds like a cop-out, I think the best way to learn more is just to watch this video talking about all the animators and staff on the show. Of course, I will talk more about certain members later, and some aspects of Bones will come up too. But till then, let's rattle on and spin for a win, as invoked historical figures in their graves too. Bruh.
Confiscating souls.
There are several instances where death supposedly confiscates souls. From Liz and Patty, to Krona, to other examples I'm too lazy to double check for. Yet somehow it never happens on screen. And knowing how souls are literally eaten, sucked up or absorbed like some generic video game power-up, how does death do the confiscate? It isn't like just taking contraband cigarettes out of tires, right? I guess I always just imagine it like Death using some special power of his to suck them back up his orbs. Oh, and Fireforce basically showed it being just like that. So I guess this mystery that really was so important got solved. Death Box. Yep, a Starbucks parody. Anything more? Was Okubo actually hinting about how it drives real coffee shops into bankruptcy and financial demise? Or how Starbucks is actually a bank? Maybe it was commentary on the famous barista proletariat discourse, going on so long that it looped back and retroactively influenced the series? Nah. Oh, also Starbucks was in Moby Dick like the second in command that tried to overturn Ahab. So maybe it's a secret message about Lord Death taking this role and failing to save Asura from madness? Okay, let's be real. It's just a famous brand with Death being changed to make it a pun. I mean, isn't even a pun. Death and Star don't even rhyme. Maybe Death Star? Starbucks? That's no moon? No kid? I'm your brother? Pumpkin spice latte?
It all comes together.
Early location names. One other thing that was dropped from the anime adaptation, maybe because it was dropped in the manga early too, was the fact that location names are always slightly modified from their original form. Just slightly. Like Egypt becoming Egypt. To be honest, the origin of this, real and speculated, is more interesting than anything else. But I will come back to that once we get to certain topics later on. For now, just be glad that Okubo was smart enough to just realize when a bad idea is bad. Wish he did that more often though. Guess the only missed opportunity is that he could have went with the whole Fireforce explanation. See, the names are wrong cause they're based on the second-hand memories of a daredevil teenager. But now when it's changed, it's just another thing to get pedantic about. Faces designed to look like skulls. Okay, maybe this is something obvious too, but at least not as eye-poking as the stalk of the pumpkin in the logo. So, as with all anime that are based on the manga, the characters got redesigned to match the animation style and other shit. But one neat thing the team did was actually make the faces resemble human skulls. Hence why they have those weird triangle noses. We're supposed to be the nose hole of a skull. Anyways, maybe this post from this blog I stole a lot of other stuff from too explains it better. To wrap up this entry, true to its name, Studio Bones gives a brain-rattling, noggin buster of an idea. Remember to rewrite with an actual clever pun or meta joke. Wait, I think I wasn't supposed to read that out loud. Free No Future God Save the Queen reference. I think this entry is a good demonstration of just how many allusions can get stuffed into one character, scenario, or even scene. So Free has the whole I thing, with no future written on it. Which is the name of the famous Sex Pistols song, a British band singing about the Queen in a mocking way. I would insert another mocking joke here, but my culture doesn't allow the disparaging of the dead. As did Free disrespect the Witch Queen, as another famous person from Britain, Margaret Thatcher, is also called a witch. I would insert another mocking joke here, but my culture doesn't allow the disparaging of the dead. Beyond all that, the first fight of our protagonist against Free takes place on the London Bridge, or Tower Bridge, which was featured in the music video of the Sex Pistols song we talked about before. But okay, even if you go, yeah, that's cool, but that's just a surface level reference to some song, some glib take that thing against one person Okubo hated. A seemingly unrelated thing that they're gonna stuff in a 2-for-1 entry like those licensed games in the past, remember those? The classic horror or comedy or whatever movie, American Werewolf in London. With free, if the main setting is in America, arguably being American, especially with the movie reference, being a little American werewolf in London, which was partly filmed around the Tower Bridge. Okay, I actually checked out the movie and it was just showing some hobos near the bridge. There wasn't a scene that was on the bridge itself, which was kinda disappointing. I had expected more connections with that movie, would have even given it a whole entry. But for now I can only say, I guess having nightmares after being infected with an evil substance that kind of turns you into a monster is a similar thing. And maybe one could even stretch something a lot more controversial. A certain interpretation of the movie. It's something that will come up way later. Something you won't be prepared for, so yeah. Oh, maybe everyone is cold because those hobos in the scene were cold. So that's why Tsubaki had a whole jacket. Maybe that's why Free has ice magic, but I think there probably is some another reason which you're gonna find. Or I don't know. Gorillaz inspiration. Oh, finally another topic that will take up 20 minutes like covering the games last time did. Or maybe not, let's see. First, let's get the obvious boring stuff out of the way and then work ourselves up to the interesting shit. Gorillaz is a marketing campaign, virtual band by the guy from Blur and Tank Girl. Does anybody care about Tank Girl enough for him to be referred that way? It's like calling me the Soul Eater post guy. If anybody read this shit alone. The latter will come up soon and much later, so don't worry. But first, about the former. Damon Albarn, yep, that's his name, and the same familiar name as our protagonist that totally doesn't get pushed to the side in the manga, and her father who totally doesn't get treated a bit too cruelly even for my standards. But that's just picky shit, boring crap anybody knows. So let's get further. Why would Okubo choose that name? Well, as we will see again and again later, Okubo has a knack for musical references. But still, giving the name of some Britpop hotshot to the main guy, it's like the One Piece creator naming his Goku ripoff monkey the PewDiePie. It can only age badly. One doesn't even need to read into some conspiracy theory, like Damon sounding kinda like demon, and Albarn being very similar to the German word Albern, which means ridiculous. It shows there was surely being a quirky little imp. Just the surface level visual and thematic stuff is obvious enough. Like I wouldn't be surprised if Sid having blue skin as a zombie was to the ghost possessing Russell being blue too. Even the music video for Clint Eastwood taking place in a graveyard could be the inspiration for the remedial lesson being there too. The whole demeanor of the band, with the wacky yet macabre, is also a match for Soul Eater. The art style, especially some of the covers and bonus drawings, are nearly a perfect match too, but we'll get to the visual side of the Gorillaz duo a bit later, so just wait for that. Till that video comes out, just the lyrics are enough, with songs about depression, feeling empty, having both an undercurrent of being unhinged, yet carefree, or the mix of indie Britpop and hip-hop, resembling the whole attitude of the show and comic. Also, Def the Kid was clearly designed after hearing the song Kids with Guns. Wait, that came out after? Damn, guess Gorillaz went tit for tat with their whole ripping off stuff. Jokes aside, that just shows the current in the culture that was present in many works during the time, even explaining well the dropped Gorillaz storyline about Death or the Boogeyman and shit. But Death isn't trademarked by Soul Eater. Yet. Still, probably the biggest inspiration can be felt in the soundtrack itself, but we'll get into it soon, just watch this video till the end. Or just listen to the music. Maka's favorite book. With how much Maka being a bookworm is just accepted, have you ever wondered what her favorite book actually is? Well, you didn't need to wonder because it was just revealed during the happenings of the manga. But a small detail can't just get lost in the shuffle easily. So what is the book? Is it even a real one? Well, it isn't, but just leaving it at that would give the wrong impression. It's called Dark Side of the Moon by Lord Dunsany, Well, not exactly technically, but it's what Okubo meant if you use your brain. So what, is it just a random combination of words and authors? Well, knowing the final arc and being aware of really mainstream 70s pop culture, you know what's coming. Pink Floyd references. So, Dark Side of the Moon. See the connection? Isn't it obvious? So besides that literal book name, maybe he had to do it as a book so he could avoid indirectly calling the album bad cause Maka is supposed to have bad music taste. More on that later. There is of course the whole final arc in its name. Literally concluding with a moon that is permanently black. Always showing the dark side of the moon in a way. But that's not all. Let's look at some other connections. Syd Barrett, named after the former lead singer. Emphasis on former, as Syd is formerly alive as a zombie. And, hope this won't sound insensitive, with the real Barrett's mental decline and drug habit, it seems that in a way he could be described as a zombie by some. At least the life and person many knew seemed to be gone. There even was the urban legend of Syd stumbling randomly into the recording studio while the band was recording their tribute to him, Shine On You Crazy Diamond. And they just cried because he said it sucked. No, actually because the state of Syd, how far he had fallen. But I think there's more to all this than some weird clever zombie pun. Okubo seems to be influenced enough by Pink Floyd to reference it in other works of his. We will get to them later, as said. I thought maybe a careful re-listen to The Dark Side of the Moon would make everything more clear. Hell, I didn't listen to it for many years and never paid too much attention to the lyrics when I did. I mean, if people connected to The Wizard of Oz, why not to Soul Eater? Both have guns in them. And yeah, after doing it, it really is obvious. The first song starting with I've always been mad for fucking years. The second song, Breathe, would be easy to cut together into some manga music video, with references of moons and rabbits, fear, flight, etc. And this song isn't even the one with the most similar imagery. Then there's the track Time, which title alone fuels one of my crazy conspiracy theories that I will get into much later. But again, it has the theme of being left out, of it being too late for you, hating one's demands, leading into Great Gig in the Sky, being about not fearing one's death anymore. The only song that doesn't really fit is Money, but it didn't really fit the album either, so... But that aside, even the war before the final arc gets kinda addressed, with a song about the bloated, pointless war that ends with the old man finally dying. And of course, brain damage. Self-explanatory. With all leading into Eclipse.
Touch and all that you see, all that you taste, all you feel, and all that you love, and all that you hate, all you distrust, all you save, and all that you give, and all that you deal, and all that you buy, big borrow or steal. Create, and all you destroy, and all that you do, and all that you say, and all that you eat, and everyone you meet, and all that you slight, and everyone you fight, and all that is now, and all that is gone, and all that's to come, and everything under the sun is in June, but the sun is eclipsed by the moon.
There is no dark side in the moon, really. Matter of fact, it's all dark.
By the way, I'm probably gonna talk about the other Pink Floyd influences later, so stay tuned. Unless I say fuck it and don't. Reaper magic?
Picture this. A father. He is a necromancer.
Even though magic seems to be associated with villainous characters, decide who is the enemy of the DWMA, like witches and sorcerers like Noah, Reapers seem to use something at least resembling it. They do hand signs, shoot energy themed around them, materialize objects, etc. With Dev and Abon working together on magic tools, one can even speculate if Dev contributed his magic to it, if anything else. Another interesting detail is that if the pull of magic is destruction, chaos, what does that mean for the Shinigami? He is order, but at the same time he is death. And isn't death the ultimate form of destruction, annihilation? Maybe that's why he is the enemy of the witches. A destruction that destroys even destruction itself. A self-defeating thing in a way. Ironically meaning that the witches' downfall is the most extreme form of themselves. Probably not, but maybe that would make a good fanfic idea or something. But I will end this with a cryptic hint. Keep the connection between Death and Abon in mind. It will come up later.
He had 3 triplet daughters. 2 are alive, born and bred. One of them is dead.
The obvious Tomorrow's Joe reference. Yeah, hear this. But that's all cause who actually watches old, crude anime like that? No epic booby fan service and superpowers and cheat powers and... I did. It is the best anime. It's the only anime. The real reason why I even included this entry was just to make a stealth praise video for it. Nah, I'm just jesting. Let's look at it in a more constructive way. Why is it that not only Soul Eater but many shows reference this old Joe Schmo? Because it did influence it all. Even if, in a certain way, all the other shows failed and became an antithesis to what it tried to do and accomplish. What matters is that some of the embers, some of the remnants of warm ash that hadn't turned white yet, at least spread some sparks of genius on all the other stuff. Okay, enough dick sucking. It probably has the opposite effect and nobody will check it out.
Good, no one will ruin it with shitty fandom and videos.
So who, or even what, is Joe? In a way, he is not just a title character, but also an archetype that many anime cool guys did try to follow, at least partly. And, comparing Soul to him, one can see the similarities. Soul at least tries to play up that he's some suave, too cool for school ruffian free spirit, with his whole demeanor of not caring and mocking his partner, etc. But as Joe, he actually does care deep inside. But unlike Joe, he cares a lot more, and it comes out a lot more easily and unwillingly than he would want. Cause Soul, in a way, is the opposite of the whole lineage of Joe ripoff characters. To start, Soul isn't a street urchin orphan with one extraordinary talent and iron will. Soul is a rich, privileged kid who runs away from his family, not towards it, without ever being able to reach them like Joe. Soul is in a way a reflection of the Japan of Okubo's day, of the young generation that was influenced by all the stylish and cool stuff, that wanted to be wild and free, but was already trapped in the doghouse of domesticated animals. Soul isn't a stray dog. He at best is a poodle with some old genes of the hunting days shining through. Is this trivia well known? I hate dogs, but I heard about it since I was a kid, so maybe it is. All that said, this isn't some weird grand bashing Soul calling him some rich suburban kid with no real problems. No, Soul in a way is a more positive result of the realities of history's moving on. Cause Joe's whole story, as everybody knows because everything references that thing, ends in a tragedy. Maybe a beautiful romantic tragedy. The only real tragedy in art that challenges the beauty of infinite life for me.
But wait, that's too high a cue for a Soul Eater video.
Okay, sorry for sounding like a pretentious asshole again. Back to the Soul Eater topic. Soul, while failing to be cool in some ways, isn't a failure because of that. Cause even Joe, even the image he tries to copy, never really was deep down cool. Soul just lives in a time and place where this doesn't doom him, cause Soul can actually make connections. Unlike Joe, who did fail to connect his love interest, maybe only sharing a moment at the brink of oblivion with the only person as self-destructive and sorrowful after the true MVP's death. Unlike them, Soul can actually connect to Maka. Well, in a way. Maka's with Soul that lame cliché of that sundry angry girl who hits people, and Soul is being a dick for no reason. If you actually have relatives or other people that are in relationships like that, you'll know that it isn't really funny or charming, but just soul-crushing and makes you wanna die. But let's go back on track. So basically the whole connection and antithesis. It all ends with the archetype being subverted and actually being solved in a positive way. The isolated kid who fakes toughness actually finding the support he needs. And he isn't the only one. In Ashito no Jo, one minor character was the frail, borderline effeminate boy Aoyama, who despite all that still somehow ended up in a correction facility, from which one can speculate that he either snapped due to his mistreatment and did something quite bad like with a knife or something, or that he got pushed around enough to do something against his will and get into trouble, or even sadder, to take the blame while doing nothing at all. But what is interesting is that the squirt is still shown to have some kind of resentment and want to become stronger. Strong enough for Joe Strand to have a whole reverse psychology Mega Man gambit of training him and ignoring Joe to prove a point. Still, what does this all have to do with Soul Eater? Well, because even if he was a minor character, he kinda left an impact in the series. Even having a whole cameo with a kinda depressing speech near the end. But my crazy conspiracy theory is that he also had a bigger impact, planting the seed of a sad loser with a good heart but weak body protagonist. And in a maybe controversial way, this got pushed more and more till we got characters like Krona. From effeminate to straight up androgyne, from brittle bone to boneless, from a pushover to a bendy spaghetti. Maybe I'm just delusional. But you know how it is with connections. Only the real talent sees the movements of the cross-count. And while it was hard to see a future for a kid like that in 60s Japan, besides menial work and mediocrity, and so that even the most pathetic and ridiculous cinnamon roll bait can be saved, even if there was a background of mass murder. And just in the anime, in the manga, one is stuck in moon prison because of inconsistent motivation and edgy writing. Anyways, did everyone leave because I went on endlessly about a series where the connection is tangential at best? Guess poetry sometimes has a negative effect on audiences. So let's go back to pedantically discussing details that were just flavor text with no other meaning, because that's what media literacy is really about. I love wikis! Sorcerers. What are they? Do they still exist? How are they related to witches? All questions that don't really have an answer. As if it was punishment for caring more about the lore than metatextual word historical hermeneutics. But let's not give up and try to go for it. So the conflict is always presented as being against witches. Witches created the weapons, witches cause chaos, you need a witch soul. There are more witches than in the speech of a kid who is afraid of swearing but still thinks his mom is a witch because of that. So the easy answer would be that, oh, witches are just their own thing, and wizards aren't really important. This ain't Harry Potter, even if that will also become relevant later. But sorcerers do exist, or at least did, and are mentioned. One very big one even, Abon, who we will get into more than Disco in the 70s, cause there's a lot to discuss. But for now, it's just important to know that sorcerers are on the side of order. Or are they? No. At least not all, cause witches not only invoke sorcerers in a positive and pragmatic way, we'll get to the great rationals soon, but even take their help, like in Monotone Princess, or if you don't want to say it's canon, well, Arachne did take Noah's help, even if he lied about his identity. Or did he? But why are sorcerers so rare? Do they also have the same rules, like animal themes and shit? Why don't their souls work, or would they theoretically? Why aren't famous philosophers and thinkers seemingly considered sorcerers in this world? Is this connected to some lore about wizards being more positive, while witches are seen as evil and in cahoots with the devil or dark forces? Is Okubo revealing his feminist cred and critiquing the inequality and misrepresentation? Anyways, there's more to say, like again how witches seem to be only female, so it implies that either wizards are unrelated biologically, or there's some 1 in 100 occurrence. But that's a discussion for a future meaningless topic. But before, let's talk about the guy who's scared of the monster under his bed. René Descartes. I'm not double checking that pronunciation. Yes, the one philosophy guy everybody knows. Besides like Plato or Hegel. Nah, maybe Hegel is less famous, at least in America. But yeah, Ruka actually mentions him while doing calculation magic. Its own kind of worms. Which makes sense if I half remember some boring lecture from university times about how Descartes and rationalism actually evolved literally from ratios. Not the Twitter thing, but the science or art or math thing of putting empirical recording into relations of each other. So in a way, calculating. I mean, yeah, Descartes was a mathematician too. But I would guess the more interesting and relevant thing is the famous "I think therefore I am" phrase, which if one wants to be really pedantic, could be already disproven by Freire, cause his soul was literally changed by physical modification, marvelous I, implying that thought and matter are not two different substances, like the at least vulgar summary of Descartes' philosophy would claim, or maybe souls and soul either aren't the mind or thought of one. Maybe another topic, cause why not expand this iceberg more than a chain of resonance? Circling back to the whole "I think therefore I am" thing, at least in the English dub of the anime, Tsubaki's brother says something similar. "I eat therefore I am," in a way twisting the phrase and exposing its solipsism. That while he is insecure in his identity and worth, he can only see it by consuming others and denying their existence, hence absorbing them and taking over their body. Like Descartes' ideology, which leads one to doubt everything besides their own mind. In a way, the solipsism creates the hell in one's mind, doubting everything and being unable to connect to others or understand them as individuals, and not just evil forces here to take you down. Maybe that's why Descartes is a wizard. Maybe they are supposed to be evil after all, or at least to show how their ideas shape humanity in a way that isn't always just positive. They really do be like that sometimes. Soul Eater Gaiden? Man, I recall being shocked a few years ago, just scrolling through the Soul Eater wiki and spotting something called Soul Eater Gaiden, like side story. I thought there were some cool bonus stories in the world of Soul Eater, but actually it really isn't, and it isn't really called Soul Eater Gaiden. But it is closely related to Soul Eater, in a meta way even. So to stop beating around the bush, it is a short bonus comic at the end of the Soul Eater volumes. It takes place at a bar called Tatsushiya or something. The joke is that it isn't a bar, it's just a place where the manga is created in a metaphorical sense. The structure of them is that they very loosely and comically recount random office events in an obvious cipher of who is who, even sometimes spelling it out. Most often it's just nonsense, non sequiturs or random jokes. But sometimes interesting behind the scenes stuff and thoughts that the series actually comes through. Also, it is a good way to keep track of when artists and assistants come and leave. Speaking of that, there's a lot of very interesting behind the scenes drama one can infer, but I keep that for later. But for now, I guess if you're interested, better just read them for yourselves. Pirate the volumes, and you will be surprised that 1/5 of them are maybe a little bit funny. So's motorcycle Harley Davidson? Yeah, probably. More on that later. Is Soul Eater a Bleach ripoff? What's next? Is Soul Eater a One Piece fanfic? Nah, that's actually Fireforce. But for real, this entry is kinda self-indulgent. Well, more than the rest, cause I remember clearly as a kid, after watching Soul Eater and then being made aware of Bleach, only for my reaction to be, I already watched Soul Eater and this is the same shit. Yeah, for some reason, that's what my impression was of Bleach. Maybe it indirectly saved me from wasting my time on another endless battle shonen, about which everybody just cries that it went downhill after a certain arc when it ends. Still, maybe I was onto something. The thing I know about Bleach, even without ever watching it, not even for this video, nah, even I have my limits, is there some soul society, the main characters are Grim Reapers. So yeah, Soul Eater, Lord Death, Tomato. Also there's the whole street club of modern atmosphere, and they were around a similar time. And I found one Korra asked that claims Soul Eater is a ripoff of, so case closed. Weapons have body parts. Yet again, a detail that to some is obvious and to others mind-melting. The eye in Soul's side form isn't even subtle, it's seemingly there to give him more expressions while in it. Also of course there is Ragnar's smile, which isn't even abstractly but a literal lip and tongue, which seems really similar as if it was famous logo or something. But have you also noticed the eyes on Liz and Patty's gun forms? Or how Tsubaki's hair is similar to her weapon forms, and also the shuriken form has literally her face on it. The bomb form too, but that one everybody sees. There are probably more. Can you find them? Nah, this isn't Dora the Explorer, you gotta do it. I won't say it in Spanish if you just wait enough. Yeah, I know you were lazy kids that didn't participate with the team.
Is it a prequel to the anime too?
One critique or caricature of metaphysics goes like this. It claims that sphere of philosophy concerns itself with things not connected to reality or anything concrete and pragmatic. In a way, basically semantics for the sake of it. But no matter if you think this is charitable or not, I think this topic is the best example of something totally useless and counterproductive to discuss, so we'll just move on. Official OST. The soundtrack of the series got actually released on CDs. The medium that is as ancient as making jokes about it. Here I have it all too. While there are a lot of cool details, mysteries and inconspiracies that relate back to the music of Soul Eater, I wanted to start with just making a general topic for this, talking about the surface level stuff. Cause just on the most pedestrian level, the soundtrack is a lot more memorable than people give it credit to. Enough that they made this overused trend chasing video, not being able to believe that nobody had done something like that yet. And I was right, cause later I found out there was one with 10k views, made a year before. Oops. Still think mine has funny stuff, check it out and maybe do a part 2. So the best way to experience the soundtrack is just checking it out for yourself. It's on YouTube for now, so do it before we have to lose it to the madness of copyright, into the abyss of Google cache. So go make haste and listen to all the tunes from pop punk to orchestral to a prayer to the Virgin Mary to hip hop with broken English to atmospheric ambient tunes straight from the Asylum Music playlist. In a way, the soundtrack is the perfect reflection of Soul Eater 2, which I guess it should be, otherwise it will be an unfitting soundtrack. But we have it all from intense action music to maddening drones for the horror parts, silly tunes that show how stupid the characters, situations and shit can be, even reflecting the time, or better said, being a time capsule of the late 2000s. I mean before the 2010s, not like 2986 or something. In music and style, it carries the attitude and message of Soul Eater through and through. It kinda even has a melancholic sadness to it, cause the nostalgia takes people back to those times that have passed. It feels so modern no matter how different they are to today. But if looping back to the Gorillaz inspiration, what could argue it's more a homage to early and mid-2000s things, so I don't know. But maybe that's just a poem of history. The cyclical longing for the past till the hated new becomes the beloved old again. One could say that time is the force that even overcomes death in a way. But that just sounds as if I listened to the OST while being high on expired grape soda. So let's just end this before I spoil something too crazy. So, maybe the shortest way of putting it, the fact that the openings are this iconic till this day says more than anything else could about the music.
The Great Old Ones.
One of the more significant aspects introduced in the manga at the same time when madness got retconned expanded to be much broader than just a response to fear. It in a way turned the world of Soul Eater into a world of madness, as Fireforce clumsily tried to make it that too officially. But what is meant with that? Basically, aspects of the world, of the human condition, are anthropomorphized as actual beings. And those beings are the closest things to gods in this world, including the goofy Lord Death, who was revealed quite early to have been quite more menacing in the past. So, as previously mentioned, representing the madness of order, he's the great old one of that aspect, with Azura being the one of fear, which already kinda released the clumsiness of it all with the whole Azura was sealed 800 years ago thing, making it kinda stupid that fear had representation only that recently, like during King Arthur's times. But speaking of King Arthur, funnily enough, Excalibur is the one of rage, with the joke being that he enrages the characters. And he actually is technically the oldest one, as mentioned according to Fireforce canon. Well, except then the evangelist seemingly had the Kishinai, so I guess the spear fear is the same. So that's why Zura is so young, cause fear was there already before. So I guess that's one plot hole that Okubo actually patched up with the Fireforce ending. I don't know. But that's boring compared to the actual concept. These beings simply just existing, causing the world around them to change and people to go insane. It's just an interesting effect, at least more than blowing up plants or running very fast. At the same time, they raise a lot of questions about this world. As how most of them were part of the Reaper Legion, so does it imply that all members were Great Old Ones? Is it significant if Azura then absorbed 3 of them? Does it even mean that a Great Old One is not something one is, but something that one becomes? Like Death previously being a warrior for justice, who brought order by extinguishing evil and chaos till people started to see him as Death itself, and he adopted that role because he couldn't tell anymore. Nah, actually just something made by Shinra. But what about Aban? Is he the origin of sorcerers and wizards? Or was he just one magician obsessed enough with finding out everything that he started to emanate it? And why does he have the helmet of Obi from Fireforce, who is now characterized as some obsessive nerd but the opposite? Does this bring up again the whole question of the 8th Legion being Fire Company 8? And if yes, who is the Great Old One of Power then? He wasn't shown to be created by Shinra or spawning out of some oil refinery, yet still he stays an open question, with how much of a role he played in Kids and Blackstar's development. Or the lack of Liz and Patty Tsubakis. Basically introducing the idea of madness being not just the worst case scenario of dark power-up, but a generic one. Nah, I mean, the idea of madness being something not black or white. I mean, the goop of madness literally was black, but actually we'll get into it. An energy source is darkly colored liquid? Very interesting. But beyond all those lore questions, the Great Old Ones are the personification of the themes of Soul Eater. Both this madness being ancient and unending, yet that the form of it can and must change. That we can make a better tomorrow if we choose, hence Kid taking over his dad's role, or Krona opening the Kishinai. Which is a whole other stupid topic. Man, Okubo really went with that, huh? So even if Kid failed to show the correct sign, he expressed his real love for his father in the end by his actions. And to circle back to the first 10-minute video in the series, the one that didn't even really have a script, the Great Old Ones are a good representation of Soul Eater as a whole. Scary, decrepit relics with all the sins of the past that drive people to madness. Yet beyond that they are often goofy, non-threatening, often very stupid and kinda lame. Yet in a way lovable enough to get stuck in one's head, making one obsessed with figuring it all out. And doesn't say so much about Soul Eater that these primordial forces of madness beyond human comprehension are just the tip of the iceberg. And yeah, we will get to Lovecraft and Lord Dunstan and all the other shit that was the inspiration for the Great Old Ones and madness and blah blah blah. Just wait for the next parts.